right, y'all. I'm Marwan Cameron, and this is the Conduit. It is Friday night. It is June 19th. This is the first official federal Juneteenth. And that is what we're going to talk about tonight. Put your seatbelt on, because it's probably not what you think. So we're going to go ahead and get into it. All right. You know, it's a beautiful day in Kitsap County. Folks were out doing their thing. However, I was not. For those of you that are local and watch me, you probably noticed that I was absent from the festivities, both today and on Thursday. And there's a good reason for that. And we're going to get into that tonight. I think it's really important that we have that conversation. And as I've said on a myriad of occasions, right? Black people aren't a monolith. We're not single-minded. We're quite varied in what we think and how we think, how we process information, what we value. And so, you know, there's a different perspective. And it's really important right now that we do not go along to get along. It's even more important now, more than ever, that we don't do that. So you need to stand, even if it is you standing alone. You know, they have that saying, right? If you don't stand for anything, you'll fall for whatever, something along those lines. I will tell you that, I didn't grow up celebrating Juneteenth. And while I do not begrudge anyone else celebrating it, actually the celebration of it is really where my problem lies. I have a problem with the celebration of it. The Holocaust is not celebrated. It is acknowledged. It's observed. It's reflected upon, but it's not celebrated. And so that's really where my issue lies. So for those that choose to recognize Juneteenth, more power to you. But for me, I have an issue with it. If you notice, it is Saturday night. It is 9:30, and we have our show. Usually, Tazsjah is with me. Tazsjah is not feeling well, so she's not with me tonight. But she does have the link, so if she does happen to feel better, she may tap in a little bit. But for now, I'll be going solo. So let me just give you a quick update because I think this is important too. I was telling you that normally I would do the daily check-in for the vaccine and all that. It's been 2 weeks. I got it 2 Saturdays ago. Feeling fine. Everything's good. Like I said, I just got that little rash on the side, whatever. But I actually got a text from the app today. So I guess maybe they do it on a weekly basis after the first week. So I think that has been the experience. So just wanted to share that information and just kind of keep people in the know of what's going on with that. But as I said, today is our Saturday night show. And Tazsjah is usually with us, but she won't be with us tonight unless she starts feeling better as the night goes on and she comes in. Anyway, this show is about Juneteenth and why I do not acknowledge or celebrate it. For those of you that are just coming in, welcome. It's good to see you. Appreciate you. Please like, subscribe, and share. You know, for me, and, I'm going to play some, videos uh, from some other folks that share the perspective that I have on this particular issue that I think will be illuminating in understanding why I feel the way that I do, in particular about this situation. But as I was saying, if you think on the Holocaust and those that were impacted by that, we don't see them partying and celebrating that. And what I see, what has been the experience that I've seen is, just that, right? Partying, celebrating, barbecues, hanging out, having a good time, drinking, smoking, whatever. I tried to use the analogy of, celebrating someone else's event, right? And I was thinking about this, and I'm going to push this out there and see if it actually sticks. But for those people that are football fans, NFL, NBA fans, basketball fans, right? Lakers win, Sonics win, rival teams, right? Maybe it's New York and Boston. New York wins. Do Bostonians go and celebrate uh, the New Yorkers championship? They don't, right? It's not for them. It's not about them. So I kind of have an issue with that. It just seems like we're putting on this show, as Black folks can do, for everyone else. And many of us don't know what Juneteenth is, don't have a real deep understanding of it. For me, Juneteenth, personally, it was about, from my understanding, right, slaves in the Deep South not getting the word until way later that they were freed. Way later. So others had gotten the word, but these particular folks had not got the word. So that would be their celebration, is how I would see that. That wouldn't be for me to celebrate, right? That's their milestone. That's their particular history. I was saying to someone the other day, it's like, we think about the conditions in Flint, Michigan, and all the people who have had their health destroyed from the decisions that were made there. And as that gets fixed, is there going to be a Flint Day that everyone is going to celebrate? I just don't think that's for everyone else. That is for that particular set of people. At best, as a group, as a collective, it would be for us. But that's all it would be for, is just for us. And so when I watch other groups come in and monetize, advertise, market under the guise of support, I've got a problem with that. I've got a huge issue with that. One thing that I think is important, because there can be a fine line, right? What I've been saying over the past few months is we have to find a way to work together, right? To overcome the post-traumatic slave syndrome. We have to overcome our own oppression. We have to overcome the fact that many of us have a hard time being accountable for our actions, for our beliefs, and for our situations. And that is hard to do. But on the one hand, I'm saying that. But on the other hand, I'm saying, okay, well, we need to be unified and together and go with the united front. But I don't agree with this particular decision or action, right? What the difference is to me, and I think what is important for us, because we need a very clear blueprint on how to go forward and navigate when we are going to be divergent on so many different issues, right? Because we're not a monolith. So I may diverge on abortion or immigration or LGBTQI plus rights. But the core of us still needs to be unified. And so what typically happens is it's like, okay, well, all right, I'm for Juneteenth and this is what I celebrate. You're not for Juneteenth. You're against us. So now there's this divergence. And that's what we have to get past. That's how we have to figure out how to navigate, where I can say, okay, I don't agree with what it is that, the purpose of this celebration or how it's celebrated or acknowledged, but I'm still going to support you, right? And so what you saw, if you've watched the last week or so, is I have promoted both the Thursday event and the Saturday event, and was not asked to do so. Right? I actually spent a considerable amount of time, uh, advertising for both events because it still is important to support the individuals or the particular organization and what it is that they're trying to do. So I think that's big. But because I don't agree with it myself, I won't participate in it, right? I had a conversation with a good friend of mine, and what I was saying to her was, one, didn't grow up celebrating it. Two, what I've seen in many of the celebrations is kind of the party atmosphere. And it's nothing to celebrate. As you'll hear in some of the videos that I'll play, this to me, right, making this holiday federal is more symbolic nothingness. So great, you made it a federal holiday. And so now what will be said is, hey, look, you said Biden hasn't done anything in the first 100 days. He hasn't done anything for Black people. Well, now he's done something for Black people. So now go ahead and sit back, enjoy. You've had your party, and now we're going to continue business as usual. As I said before, Republicans, Mitch McConnell said, hey, look, I'm not going to support anything that the Democrats are trying to push through. He did the same thing during the Obama years. But this gets pushed through because the situation where both sides of the same, the two wings of the same bird, they're flying in the same direction. So it's a trick bag. We still haven't done anything about police brutality. Still haven't done anything about institutional racism through every infrastructure that we have. So we leapfrog all of that and we go right into, oh, hey, we've got a federal holiday. I just don't know what do we hope to gain by this? What did we actually gain by this? What did this change? What did this change? And I would love for someone to tell me what that is. What is their bright outlook? And I'm quite an optimistic person, but I just don't see it. All right. So as you can see, if it looks different tonight, I am using my new rig, my new setup. It is almost 100% complete. Such a crazy story, I'll tell you. First off, you're watching the Conduit, Marwan Cameron. What's so crazy is, like I said, I had to come to the dark side. I'm a Mac person, and I'm telling you, the camera in the Mac is actually just as good or better than a $700 Canon. It is incredible, right? Pretty amazing. I'm quite surprised at that. However, becoming a new Mac person, your Apple ID, they take security quite seriously. So I couldn't figure out what my Apple ID was. I forgot because I had it written down in two different places and it changed. So I had to wait 3 days for them to send my Mac ID to allow me to reset it, right? To reset the password. So I was able to reset it at 5:45 tonight. And they're all C inputs in the back. And so you got to go C to HDMI. Well, everything needs drivers, so you can't download anything. So it's learning the whole Mac thing is crazy. So I'm getting there. I will be definitely working on trying to become proficient in this. But it definitely does have, I can see why the Apple folks, those that love Apple, I see why you love it. So I've come to the dark side. Now I've got to learn all about the dark side. So I'm going to bring myself in. I'm going to mute myself. I don't have a double echo there. This is my original rig, as you can see. And it's freezing, which has been one of the issues. And, honestly, I think what could have happened is I tried to switch out the video card several months ago so that I could add multiple monitors, and then went back to an old monitor. And it worked fine for a while. And then all of a sudden I was having problems. So I don't know what to say about that. So let's see if this actually plays. Fair use. That is important that I state that. You go ahead and read the copyright disclaimer. Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as yada, yada, yada. All right. Also, let me say, trigger warning right off the bat, you are going to hear the N-word. I don't use it myself often. I do use it at times, but it's usually, I think it's pretty much 100% when I am trying to teach or illustrate something. But some of the people that I'm going to share with you this evening, they do use it. So I do want to warn you that you will hear that, okay? Which is so bizarre. Sometimes we have to put these warnings up as if people have not heard the word, people have not said the word, or people are not still currently using the word. It is what it is, right? Also, what I want to say too is some of the people that I'm going to share with you, again, not a monolith. So while I do agree with many of their points, I do not believe in all of their or agree with all of their points. So do not hold me accountable for everything that these folks happen to say. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and test this one out. If you want to listen to these folks, I encourage you to do so. They are definitely hardcore in their rhetoric and what they have to say. So be warned. But the Black Authority is a good source of information. Let's see if you can hear this. I can't hear it, so I don't think you can either. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and work on that so you can hear it because this is important stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pull that up over here. In the meantime, go ahead and pull up another one here. Let me go ahead and pause that. And some of the reports that I got today that the events were both quite packed. Saw pictures from Thursday's event. Quite a few folks turned out. Lots of food out there, which brought people in. And for me, that was one of the huge issues for it, right? Let me just run that down while I'm trying to get this together. This is one of my huge issues was not so much with today's event because it was actually on Juneteenth, right? But the irony of needing to celebrate a day because slaves didn't get the word that they were freed until well later, And then because of convenience, because of, oh, well, people have been coming to this location on Thursday, so they know to come there. And so we'll get a lot of folks to come through. Let's go ahead and pull a celebration around that. And my problem with that is again, that is a thing that I believe is for us, not for any other group. And then it's, well, here's what we're going to do. We're almost going to bribe folks to come. And the way we're going to bribe folks to come is we're going to give them tons of free food and have them come through. So go ahead and get your food. So are you coming for Juneteenth? Are you coming to pay your respects? To acknowledge, to learn? Are you coming for something free? See, it was done on that Thursday because they knew so many people were already coming for something free. And so if it had just been on a Saturday in that same parking lot with nothing to give away, would they have come out for something free? So I've got a huge issue with that. And the organizations that come out and take advantage of marketing and advertising. So there's no way that I could be a part of that. Huge issue with that. I don't know how other folks feel about that. I think most people would say, oh, it's not that big a deal. No, it's all about unity. Let's bring people together. But to me, per usual, it's bringing us together at our expense. What more did those folks learn about Juneteenth? What do they understand? And beyond learning anything about Juneteenth, what is going to change in their thought process and their actions in regards to Black people? And I would argue that it would be none. And the reason why I make that argument is for the same reason why we see these diversity and equity trainings that people put a lot of hard work into, not really change much. So Starbucks treats their folks bad or their customers bad. Oh, we have a diversity and equity training because they did something wrong with their customers. So what's changed? And then you still see, receipts with racist things typed out on it, cups written with racist things on it. Still see discrimination. Now, my bestie in Mississippi is telling me about the issues down there and how, they're having to pull everyone into a room and let them know, because no matter how woke Starbucks claims that they are or trying to be, still management and upper level employees still somehow seem to be white, even in the predominantly Black areas. And so you can call people in the room one at a time and, ask them, well, did you know that these opportunities existed? Do you feel like you're supported in any type of advancement opportunities? So you've closed down all your stores, you've had the training, and yet and still the practices still continue. Police departments have the equity and diversity training, and sensitivity training and all these other trainings, and they still are behaving in the way that they're behaving. Organizations have these diversity and equity trainings, and I've worked for some of the largest employers in the county, right? When you think about it, it's the school districts, right? The military, shipyard, healthcare, kind of the biggest employers here in the county. And out of two of them at the college when they first started their diversity and equity training, why do we need this? Just seeing how pissed off people were when they decided, some folks decided there needed to be an equity and diversity department with a head. It felt like it was a waste of money. It was a waste of funds. They didn't want to have it. And then they didn't want that position to have any power to affect anyone's jobs. And this wasn't just a few, right? As the saying is always, oh, it's just a few, bad apples that spoiled a bunch. No, these were high percentages of folks. And the same thing with the Navy. Oh, we're going to have this diversity and inclusion, Tiger panel. Do you want to be on this panel? We're going to have these conversations. And through these conversations, white folks and other folks are feeling like, they're being personally attacked. And so now you've got to walk this fine line on what you can say, right? Where you're talking about your experience because other people's feelings are getting hurt. So here we have experienced racism, discrimination, bias, all these things. But you don't want to feel some kind of way. So we just shouldn't have these conversations, or they shouldn't be mandatory. Which really just gets people to dig in and become more entrenched. And I would argue that really what diversity and equity and inclusion trainings really do is teach people how to better discriminate, right? Within the letter of the law, which is, to me, one of the huge issues here in this country. So what is often said is, well, here's the problem.
been economically deprived. And here we are centuries later, and the complaint is still the same. By Dr. Claude Anderson said, in proportional comparative terms, we haven't moved 1 inch from 1864 to now. We haven't moved 1 inch. The same. By Dr. Claude Anderson said, in
All right.
proportional comparative terms, we haven't moved 1 inch from 1864 to now.
So it is playing now, so that's good. So I'm gonna go ahead and rewind this so we can kind of get the full piece of this, like I said, because this is important. This is the Black Authority. You can follow him on YouTube. As I said, as you already heard, he does use the N-word, but I think what he has to say is important. So let's go ahead and check that out.
Warned you, and I've been saying it since day one. So if you want to know why this is the headquarters of the Black media, if you want to know what makes us different, if you want to know what makes us stand apart, it is because we're the place that tells you specifically what's going to happen way before it does. We tell you about all the tips. We tell you about all the tricks. We tell you about everything they're going to attempt to do. We tell you what's coming. We don't just sit here and guess our way through and pretend about it. We tell you what's coming. And if you'll remember, last November, I know some of you felt a little demoralized. I know some of you felt some kind of way. I know some of you were asking yourselves, well, has the progress been stopped? And I was saying it from day one. And I never changed it, never altered it, never modified it. I said it from day one and stayed consistent. When I told you, oh, please, they realize they've got a Black problem up one side and down the damn other. They understand Black folk ain't rocking with them. They understand the symbolism isn't gonna work. But I also told you, but they are also dedicated to not giving us anything tangible. So they're gonna refer back to the old playbook. And they're going to double and triple down is what they're going to do. And what they're going to attempt to do is rely on, yes, I'm going to say it, they're going to attempt to rely on a group of old niggas and use them as their crash dummies and use them as their smoke screen for the purposes of saying, well, look, we got Black support. So they got the Congressional Black Caucus together, which really should be called the Immigrant and Old Nigga Black Caucus, grabbed all of them together and said, you know what we need is a super heavy dose of symbolism. Now,
and this is exactly what I was saying, right? Symbolism. So they have bypassed all of the things that, and we haven't even talked about all the things, right? Biden hasn't met with Ice Cube. You have seen my Black political agenda that I've been sharing from Dr. Tazsjah Johnson and 10,000 other Black men. So none of those things are for discussion, but we can do a symbolic making of a federal holiday.
This is the trick bag we keep getting put into. Look, folks, bottom line, no matter how you cut it, do you realize that Black people's complaint, Black people's problem has been the same since 1500? That we have been economically deprived. And here we are centuries later, and the complaint is still the same, which is why Dr. Claude Anderson said that in proportional comparative terms, we haven't moved 1 inch from 1864 to now. We haven't moved 1 inch in proportional comparative terms. We had 1/2 of 1% of the wealth back then, and we've got 1/2 of 1% of the wealth today.
How is that possible? How is that possible? How is that possible? Now, we had Tulsa, we had Black Wall Street, and we had scores of other cities just like that, and they destroyed them. And they've been doing it ever since. How is that possible?
and that the whole game is to make sure that we stay economically starved. But how do you get people that you are doing physical atrocities to not revolt and rise up in the streets on a regular basis? Well, what you attempt to do is you attempt to convince them that they actually have gotten something, that they actually are making progress, that they actually are getting ahead, that you are actually, now here's the key thing. If you don't give them anything substantive economically, then socially, make it clear to them that you're making social progress. And that's what Dr. Claude Anderson said. For those of you, if you watched our groundbreaking documentary, 7 a.m.
All right. Big difference. Social progress, economic progress. Huge, huge difference. Huge difference. You want to get rid of some statues? You want to rename some bases? It has nothing to do with economics, economic power, creating generational wealth, breaking the cycle of poverty, reducing adverse childhood experiences.
If you saw 7 a.m., then you understand and you remember. Here we are half a decade later, and you'll understand and remember that Dr. Claude Anderson said that Black people have not moved anywhere except socially. Well, we've been allowed to socialize more than we were allowed to previously, but we're not being economically deprived because of not being allowed to socialize. Trying to socialize outside of Black society is not supposed to be the goal. We need to work on socializing within Black society is what we need to work on.
And this is what I was talking about. Well, I talk about it often, right? Where we don't support each other. Where we will find the smallest thing, even if it's not a small thing, we'll find that thing that will justify why we're going to be against our brother or our sister. And you see it every day, all day. And I've had countless conversations, Tazsjah, Rev, other folks that have come on. People talk it within their circles, in Black circles. They talk about it in white circles. Why do you guys have such a hard time supporting each other? Well, this one, this, that, and the other. Well, that one, well, yeah, I don't know. Just this person just runs me the wrong way. They don't have good hours. I don't want to pay full price. Their quality isn't the best. Whatever it is. But you watch those same people go out of their way to support openly racist organizations and businesses. Yeah, I'm sorry, man. I ain't gonna stop eating that chicken sandwich. I don't care what you're saying. At some point, we're going to wake up. We got to find a way to work together, even if we don't agree. And that's why it was important for me that even though I don't agree with celebrating Juneteenth and making a party out of being freed from slavery, from being whipped, hung, raped, sodomized, body parts cut off, burned alive, shot, drowned. I don't think it's anything to twerk about. And to have giveaways for folks that are your, in a lot of cases, your open enemy. It's crazy. So they talk bad about you. They vote against you and your interest. They lay judgment against you. They don't hire you. They devalue your home. They devalue your education. But there's some free food, so let's come on down. And now, unfortunately, because Republicans and Democrats both push this through, see what we did for you after all this time? Now we can go ahead and focus on all the other things that we want to focus on. We just took a little second out here just to do this for you. Let me see if I can get this other piece queued up for you, because you need to see the actual words from the New York Times, which I think is, really important. Kind of says it all. By the way, you are watching The Conduit with Marwan Cameron. It is Friday, June 19th. Now and forevermore, federally recognized Juneteenth. And again, to be clear, I'm not against Black folks that want to celebrate Juneteenth. But I don't believe in celebrating it, acknowledging it. Using the event to further the Black agenda. I'm all for that in a serious tone. But not as it is currently what we've seen. And sadly, what I think we will see. So I'm just trying to get this video queued up here. So I got them all set on the other computer. Oh, actually, that might be the best way for me to do it. I can just look over here at the timestamp, and then I can go ahead and get it over there. All right, 1:59. There we go. All right. That helps. All right, let me get that.
All the tricks. We tell you about everything they're going to attempt to do. We tell you what's coming. We don't just sit here and guess our way through and pretend about it. We tell you what's coming. And if you'll remember, last November, I know some of you felt a little demoralized. I know some of you felt some kind of way. I know some of you were asking yourselves, well, has the progress been stopped? and I was saying it from day one, and I never changed it, never altered it, never modified it. I said it from day one and stayed consistent. When I told you, oh, please, they realize they've got a black problem up one side and down the damn other. They understand black folk ain't rocking with them. They understand the symbolism isn't gonna work. But I also told you, but they are also dedicated to not giving us anything tangible. So they're gonna refer back to the old playbook, and they're gonna double and triple down is what they're going to do. And what they're going to attempt to do is rely on, yes, I'm going to say it, they're going to attempt to rely on a group of old niggas and use them as their crash dummies and use them as their smoke screen for the purposes of saying, well, look, we got black support. So they got the Congressional Black Caucus together, which really should be called the Immigrant and
I played that again because this is what I expect to see. Because this is what happened during the election. Folks came out and they were arguing about how you got to get Trump out of office by any means necessary. We have to. That Biden was the lesser of two evils. And in most ways, he wasn't even evil. Doesn't matter what he said on the Breakfast Club, right? If you're not black, if you don't vote Democrat. Doesn't matter what Kamala Harris was saying about black folks. I'm not going to do anything for just black people. Or the fact that when she ran, she was destroyed. Right? Because black folks weren't supporting her. But then all of a sudden, here we go. Huge, huge problem. So again, what will end up happening is we're going to get to a point where our folks are going to defend this. Well, Biden has done this, and he's not Trump. And still, what has changed? That's not, or that is tangible. This is just symbolism.
In the article from The Guardian, Joe Biden signs bill making Juneteenth a federal holiday as it happened. Joe Biden signed the bill making Juneteenth, which commemorates the end of slavery in America, a federal holiday. Quote, great nations don't ignore their most painful moments, Biden said before signing the bill at the White House. Great nations don't walk away. We come to terms with the mistakes we made, and remembering those moments, we begin to heal and grow stronger. Great nations do not ignore their mistakes. Do you understand the audacity of that statement coming from
I want to put some
three strikes Jim Crow Joe Biden? This is not slapping in your face. This is slapping you in the face after spitting in it. That's what this is. They're doing nothing but ignoring it. We didn't ask for empty symbolic slogans. We said cut the check. We said bring the tangibles. We didn't say a damn thing about getting you to acknowledge what you did wrong. We don't need you to acknowledge what the hell you did wrong. We know what you did wrong. What we're talking about is what you're going to do about it. Well, we're going to give everybody a day off of work. What the hell? Well, when we overworking y'all? Yeah, you still are, but this isn't about giving us a damn day off of work. This is about compensating us for all the work we already did. That's what that's about. This is about compensating us for the wealth you have stolen from us that has enriched you that we have not received anything from. That's the problem. No symbolic gestures, not interested in symbolism, not trying to have symbolism. That's the problem that I got with what you're doing. I'm not going to accept symbolism as a coin.
And I hope that you don't either. And for those that are like, okay, it's a start. Got to start somewhere. If that's how you feel, that's how you feel. But what's next? When does the tangible come in? Because that's what we need, is the tangible. This is what we were fighting for. Qualified immunity, accountability, equity in sentencing, police training, which again, you cannot train someone to not hate you. Doesn't work like that. Has not worked. But yet, the definition of insanity is we're going to keep trying to do the same thing over and over again and hope for a different result. And then what you have is when we're victimized and you're interviewing people on the street, I can't believe it's 2021 and we're still going through this. How the hell are you surprised? I just don't understand how we can be in a world like this in 2021. I get it. Don't want to see it. Go along to get along. That's what we've been doing. Don't want my daughter to be impacted by it. I want to live good. I like what little I have, and I don't want them to take it from us. And hey, we're not united anyway, so it's not like anyone's going to help and have my back if they do come for me. They're just going to stand and maybe at best record it. At best, they'll record it. At worst, they'll join in with the supremacists and say, oh, hey, what did he do? He must have deserved it. Well, you know, he had a criminal record 10, 15, 20 years ago. So, you know, because they're going to bring that on up. More and more we see prosecutors, judges, detectives. We have video of law enforcement planning drugs, doing all kinds of crazy stuff. At the Capitol riots. But there you go. You got a federal holiday. Go ahead, have barbecue. You got the day off. Well, I mean, those organizations that are going to acknowledge it. Because you'll still have that, right? So frustrating, man. So frustrating. This may surprise you.
In the strength of its economy. So whenever the white supremacists come up to you pretending as if they've done something for you that's so great, first of all, they ain't going to do a damn thing for you. They'll do stuff to you, but not for you. And second of all, you need to be asking if these white supremacists, whatever it is that they think that they're bragging on themselves about, is it something that puts something tangible in your hands? If it's not, then it's just hot air. Juneteenth is a federal holiday. While I have no problem with it, the thing about it is it changes nothing for us. New York Times reluctantly reported that many states have recognized Juneteenth for decades. but only some observe it as an official holiday. 7 states and the District of Columbia.
Hold on, stop there. Many states have recognized Juneteenth for decades. Decades. But only some observe it as an official holiday. Some do. It's already celebrated in 47 states and DC. How is this a win? We let them piss on our head and tell us it's raining. And then we believe it. How many of you knew that? So let's buck dance and twerk and celebrate and watch other organizations, other groups come in market, advertise, and capitalize. And again, use our oppression, use our dead bodies, mutilated, raped bodies of our ancestors to further their own agendas. You know, it's amazing.
Texas was the first state to observe Juneteenth as an official holiday starting in 1980. So there you have it. Texas was the first state to observe Juneteenth as an official holiday, and many states already recognize Juneteenth, though many of them don't make it an official state holiday. But even in DC, they recognize it. So what's the big hubbub then? Well, as the piece says, and I'm reading it out of order, so I hope that it makes the point have greater emphasis. After the protest for racial justice last year, dozens of companies moved to give employees the day off for Juneteenth, and the push for federal recognition as a paid holiday gained new momentum. As a paid holiday. Yeah, another day to do a cookout for companies and the federal government, by the way. Black folks are the ones who are wronged. Black people are the ones who are owed. But you got the white government, white corporations saying, you know what? We are giving ourselves permission to take the day off and to pay ourselves for it. So for you half-wits out there who want to try to get jolly in the behind about this as if it's something new, sorry, it ain't. But let me ask you a question, because I know there's a few folks here.
Before the question, so it's been celebrated all this time, 47 states. Even back as far as 1980. Some of you listening to this weren't even born in 1980, before the 80s, or after the 80s, still after the 80s. Eight years of Obama. Oh, man.
Here who they think that somehow they're doing something great by letting their hearts go pitter pat every time the white media tells them to. Let me ask you a question. How is making Juneteenth a national federal holiday any different from it not being a holiday at all? What do we as Black people get out of this being a...
Ooh, hey, you can answer that in the chat. So now it's a federal holiday. What difference does it make? Remember, it was already acknowledged in 47 states. Celebrated. It's only 50. What's the difference? Is that going to stop the next George Floyd? Is that going to stop driving while black? Being overcharged? Not having a jury of your peers? Having a public defender? Being forced to take a plea because you're overcharged? Being sentenced at higher rates than every other group? Being taken away from your family and your friends and your support network? I talked about computer literacy and how it's a huge issue just in general. But for many in the Black community, it's a tremendous issue. And when we look, our Black women are more educated. So they're in college and university at higher percentages. But many of our men are not. And you can see it. And I talked about the impact of not having those skills and what that does in regards to accessing resources. You know, we work with folks that grown Black men, powerful physically, that have a tremendous difficulty when it comes to using a computer, accessing resources. Great, there's a bunch of grants out there. I have no idea how to find them. I have no idea how to apply for them. Oh, there's utility assistance, there's rental assistance, there's... So for the few things that I do qualify for, I have no idea how to do that. And every day is my survival. If I'm not out here hustling, I don't eat. There are no sick days. There are no vacation days. So what does it change? If it wasn't a federal holiday, it is a federal holiday now. What does it change? Don't think it's going to stop the next George Floyd.
A federal holiday. What's changed for us? What is going to happen now that wasn't happening until today? What's the big deal? What's the big change? I want white supremacy to have to give up its power, not tokens, because the biggest problem with tokens is that they're free.
Hmm.
They can go ahead and do that and it doesn't hurt them. I want to put some pain on them. Now, of course, you had the signing ceremony slash photo op where you had no less than Jim Crow Joe being flanked by a bunch of other bootlicks and sycophants, including Kamala Harris, who ain't got a damn thing to do with Juneteenth. Her family in Jamaica bragging about how they were slave owners. And her mother in India, well, I think it's safe to say that the slavery experience in the U.S. totally had nothing to do with her, but Kamala Harris acting like it does. I would hope that she'll tell us all about how her ancestors languished in the killing fields of the American South. Maybe she can relate a story about how her ancestors heard the news about Juneteenth. I wonder if she'll go ahead and tell us about that. She's got a bullcrap story about the rest of her phony made up black experience. I'm sure she's got one for this too, right? Because I mean, she's just like us, right? But if a picture speaks 1,000 words, this one speaks 10,000 putrid words. You got Negro Jim Clyburn, Cop Mala Harris, and of course Sheila Jackson Lee, who was supposed to be the main beneficiary of this. Amazing. You got Joe Biden, who this bastard has been spending his entire adult life persecuting black people, and now he's pretending as if, oh, I'm fine with this, I'm fine with it. Give me a break. Now, what needs to be
No, it's important to point this out and show these distinctions. Because we haven't even gotten to a point where we can have these conversations. Most aren't even ready to even begin to scratch the surface on how foundational Black Americans think. See, we're not represented. And has been co-opted by everyone else. And the few times when we actually do find ourselves there, they've been put in place for their meritorious manumissions. Pretty unanimously, Democrats feel some kind of way about Clyburn. So you can ascend and you can sit in that space and you can stand in that space and be used as that symbolic token. And how fitting that you have Clyburn and Harris standing next to each other. Oh, I wouldn't say America's racist. I want to play a little bit more of this because of Jackson Lee and what he has to point out about her that I think is despicable. And this happens all the time where folks will go out and do the work. Blood, sweat, tears. And then when it comes time to actually acknowledge the achievement, someone comes in and swoops in, and then they take it from you.
be understood is both Democrats and Republicans voted for this. In the U.S. Senate, the bill passed unanimously. Now, the Republicans promised to stonewall all legislation that the Democrats put forward, but they supported this, including Mitch McConnell. And a lot of you who get your news and views from the white media and who allow the black bootlicks for the white media to inform your sensibilities because you're still trapped in the mental asylum of the old dead black media. Before you get ready to pretend to yourself,
Ooh. Oh, but wait, there's more. So President Biden did something so magnanimous for the black community and made this a federal holiday. Hell, Barack Obama didn't even do that. Good old Joe. Hey, never mind. That makes it all good. I know he mass incarcerated black men and set the tone for the prison industrial complex. Destroyed, single-handedly destroyed more black families. He himself. And they say, you're taught. How is racism still here? Right? Because the argument from mostly on the right, but those moderates and some on the left too, right? Slavery was 400 years ago. Tulsa was 100 years ago. The King assassination was 50 years ago. How are we still here? How is it getting worse when it was, oh, well, that was so long ago? How? See, it's taught. And they continue to trick us. And we go for it. And they allow a few of us to get into certain positions and think we have power. We can play head slave as long as we oppress the ones below us and we don't let anyone come against the master. There are black folks that will protect these people with their lives and will do everything to destroy you. Openly and behind the scenes. Oh, it was 400 years ago. Oh, it was 100 years ago. Oh, it was 50 years ago. Oh, it was last year. George Floyd, that was last year. Just need to get over it. Critical race theory. No, black people are the racist. And you got some black folks. Yeah, CRT is racist. We're not going to be able to move forward if we can't just close our eyes and tell everyone, hey, we don't see what's happening. Just go along to get along. Something is better than nothing. It's taught. It's taught. So, there's a saying, I don't know what the actual science is on it. That you're not born racist, right? That it's a taught thing. And when children are kids and they're just playing together, they're just playing together. That's my friend. But at some point, they're taught. We helped out a family a few months ago who was pissed, living in a middle class neighborhood, cul-de-sac, and her son playing with the white kids in the neighborhood, just having a good old time. Little neighborhood besties. We've all had them. Till one day, the white kid says, I can't play with you anymore. Because my folks said that you guys are racist. And she went over and she confronted the parents. Taught. Then you have, well, what? Biden's son has all these tweets come out? Or the text, the racist text with his lawyer? Well, it comes out in the Friday news cycle because it goes through the weekend, and then, that's where stories go to die. We don't want them to catch any traction. It goes out, there's a little bit of hit. Then Biden meets with Putin. He comes back and he signs this into federal. No one's talking about that. Taught. So do you really think that Biden, speaking the way that he was 40 years ago, remember, he's been in office for 48 years, right? Wasn't he for segregation? So you're saying that he didn't teach his sons that? Is it not a surprise that those tweets, those texts would come out? It's how we can have a Dylan Ruth go into a black church and slaughter everyone. And the police take him to Burger King. But then you see us handcuffed and being dragged on our face and beaten to death. Oh, that was a recent one if you haven't seen that one. And these are traffic stops. Oh, you murdered a whole bunch of people. This is just a traffic stop. Taught. Oh, it's the old ones that are the racist ones. It's their grandparents. Once they die off, things will be okay. Until you see the Proud Boys, the Boogaloo Boys, all the militias. January 6th, the nooses, the Confederate flags. If you are, what do you need a noose for? We know what the symbolism is. What do you need a swastika for? They do say a picture says 1,000 words. That smile from President Biden. It's like, you stupid Negro. And Kamala just like, yeah, see? Yeah. You did it. Good for you. Progress.
Oh, this means something. The Republicans would never have supported this. Well, I got bad news for you. It was no less than Donald Trump who 9 months ago during the 2020 campaign was pledging that he was going to make Juneteenth a federal holiday. All of that to pander for some black votes, just to sop to see if there were any slow-witted black folks who might decide to vote for him just because of that. So Trump already beat Biden to it 9 months ago. And
that's crazy. How many of you knew that? Whatever you think about Trump, Trump has done nothing fraction, a tenth, nope, a 100th of what Biden did to Black America. The discrimination in his hotels, his presidency, can add that in there, doesn't hold a candle to what Biden did. And quite frankly, is still doing. Because again, when he has the power, he exercises it. But when it comes to us, it has to be bipartisan, which, you know, is not going to happen. And again, the things that aren't being fought for or being pushed through while he can, $15 minimum wage, I was having a conversation with Zulu today, and he was talking about how, you know, the little stimulus is laughable. What does that really do? What has it really done? You know what's so crazy? I think they give out like 3 stimuluses or 3 stimuli. Is that the plural of stimulus? I haven't gotten any of those stimuli, if that is the plural for that. But that's crazy. So Trump already made a pledge 9 months ago that he was going to make Juneteenth a federal holiday, right? So as happens a lot, the Democrats are just taking one out of the Republican playbook, right? Because you guys don't like Trump. He's an open, overt racist. See, it's a trick bag. And it's obvious. You know, if you go to a restaurant, you know, you sit down, typically they just bring you water. You'll get water just standard from coming in and sitting down. And you can still order your beverage, you can order your meal, but your water's just going to come. So is there anything wrong with Juneteenth being a federal holiday? No. That should be the water that just is already sitting on the table. What's next? What are we going to do? How are you going to hold them accountable? And I don't mean just Biden. I mean locally. Our local politicians. What have they done? What are they doing? What is their track record? What have they accomplished? Are they showing up to be seen? And then business as usual? Are they having conversation year after year as tragedy after tragedy, crime after crime happens? And standing in solidarity and saying things need to change when they don't? You know, the $50 million that went to the AAPI community against Asian hate, quite a few black folks being caught up in that law already. But I could sit here and play you videos for the next 40 hours of fans at school age basketball games yelling racist things to players, to folks in stores and everywhere else. You know, the woman that tackles the affluent young black man and accuses him of stealing the cell phone and tackles him. Right, that's not a hate crime. See, no one's up at arms talking about how they're afraid. People openly saying things that are racist. They're not charged with a crime at all. And they're damn sure not charged with a hate crime. What happened with Central Park Karen? The one who was choking her dog out and pretending like she was being assaulted or raped by a black man in Central Park just because he asked her to put the dog on a leash, keep her dog under control. She's now suing her employer for discrimination. Remember the apology and I was wrong, but now I'm suing, right? It's a trick bag. So I apologize because that's what I have to do, right? That's why they want to get rid of cancel culture. It's okay to cancel you, which is what they've been doing the entire time, right? Which is why things like affirmative action needed to come into place, but then it didn't really work for us. It worked for other groups, right? Why, when they do blind studies and have folks look at resumes and the ones with black sounding names are dinged. Or an organization says, hey, we need diversity. We want black people to be in these positions, this, that, and the other. Well, what have you done to recruit for these positions? I mean, not much, but okay, we will. All right, we're going to recruit. Actually, well, you know what? Can you help us find the people? So now we got to do your job for you. Okay. Here's a list of applicants that are qualified. Interview. Well, yes, they were all very highly qualified and just great candidates, but someone else was just a better fit. And again, it's not against the law, so we're not doing anything wrong. And who makes the laws? And who enforces the laws? I think it was think it was proven wrong. They used to say that if you put a crab in a hot pot of water, boiling water, it would jump out of the pot. But if you put a crab in water and then you slowly brought it to a boil, it wouldn't try to jump out of the pot. I think that's proven to not be true from what I've heard. I've never tried it. But I feel like Black people are the crabs in the pot of just regular warm water. And they're bringing it to a boil. And you don't even feel yourself dying. And they talked about the economic power. What was that? 70, 80 years ago? Being the same now? The incarceration, the crack, healthcare, education, policing, justice, housing, jobs. And every other group, in almost every other situation, can people and organizations empathize and sympathize with the situation. Oh, we've got to do this. These people have post-traumatic stress disorder because they went through this, that, and the other. Black people are living it every day. But still somehow we're expected to be somehow unfazed and to overcome all of the obstacles that are set in the way. When I interviewed Roosevelt Smith yesterday, I wanted Layla to listen in. And one of the things that I thought was interesting is, again, it's COVID this year, so that may have had something to do with it. But, you know, I talked to her about school all the time. I had to points like, all right, how was your day at school, sweetie? I was good. You know, it's kind of the standard kid answer. All right, so what'd you learn? All right, well, how was math? Okay, how was this? Did you have any science today? You know, she really didn't have any science this year. That was concerning. How about history and social studies? Yeah, we had a little social studies, but not really a lot of history. I'm like, well, sweetie, history is social studies. No, it's something different. So it's like, Echo, what is social studies? Echo, stop. Oh, history is a part of that. And of course, unfortunately, she hadn't heard of Juneteenth. And so I told her, you know, she wants to get shy. She, you know, I think I'm getting sleepy. It's like, yeah, okay, sweetie. Well, because I wanted her to ask one of the questions to Mr. Smith. I said, all right, you don't have to ask a question, but you will sit here and listen. And not only will you listen, I'm going to ask you some questions. So you're going to need to pay attention. So, you know, at first she's like, oh, man. And she's like, okay. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take notes with the cell phone. It's like, all right, cool. And so she was able to make it her own thing and then pay attention. And so we're going through. It's like, all right, Layla, what is Juneteenth? She was able to tell me what Juneteenth was. I say that to say that it is important, critical, paramount for us to teach our children what they are not going to learn in school. And we cannot be angry that they're not getting what they need in school. I just got done telling someone, look, school has your kids for 6 hours out of 24. They are not there to raise your kids. That's our job. So if there's a deficit and they're not getting it, it's up to us to fill that gap. So if she doesn't know Black history, if she doesn't know information that we think that she should know, financial literacy, stocks, bonds, that's on us. It's not on the school. Now we can advocate for change, but I can tell you, just having your pitchfork out and yelling about how this and that isn't happening and how something else should happen, not the most effective way to get it done. The most effective way to get it done is for you to sit on the school board committees, to run for positions, to get involved and say, oh yeah, I know. The issue is, well, we're too busy. Even now, our kids are latchkey. We just don't have time. We're working too many jobs. We have too many kids. We don't have a livable wage. We're struggling. So even more reason why we have to find ways to come together and to support each other. School board meeting is tonight. Then you know what? Someone is going to have all the kids while some of the parents go and have their voices be heard. So we make sure they get to football practice and basketball practice. At the end of the day, we will only have ourselves to blame. So if we are pacified by these tokenistic strategies, ploys, trick bags to give us these symbolic cultural changes that don't change anything economically, that don't give us any power. We will continue. No, we're not going to continue. We will continue. We're going to continue to fall further behind. So if you don't see it, you need to see it. See, we're already in competition. Everyone's in competition. And we can hold out our hands and say, hey, there's a coalition. There's a coalition until there's not a coalition. And then folks turn on us. Who have you turned on? We've all done it. Who are you supporting over your brother or your sister? Who are you being petty over? Who are you not able to support because you don't like them? You see that it's getting bad. You know what? I should see if I can pull this up because this was, I think, a sign of things to come. Oh, I meant to tell you a story too. So, Rob is he's got a short fuse. Rob gets hot and he gets hot quick, right? And so I've been telling Rob, hey, these folks out here are not in their right minds. And there's a lot of violence out here. And you cannot allow your second of frustration to get you into a situation where you're in danger and your family loses you because you got pissed off because someone cut you off in traffic, right? And so you end up yelling at the person or whatever, and they pull out a gun and they shoot you. And so we have these conversations like weekly. Like, all right, man, I need you to, be careful. Yeah, I know. I'm working on it. And so I told you the story about what happened at McDonald's, right? So, he pulls up, he's behind, and the cashier asked the lady if she wanted sauce with her Big Mac or whatever. And she got really pissed off. And then he says the next day, he's driving and he's behind a student driver in a truck, right? Like in an 18-wheeler or whatever. I think it was just not the whole 18-wheeler, but it was a student driver. And I guess a car had cut off the student driver. Well, they pull up to a stop sign. The instructor from the vehicle, from the truck, gets out, walks over to the guy in the car, and punches him in the face. This is in Bremerton, or at least Kitsap County. I don't know if it was Bremerton or Silverdale. Punches him in the face, and then gets back in the truck. Now, Rob is one car back watching all of this happen. It's a miracle either one of them didn't get to shooting. But if they had, bullets have no names. What exactly, if you're the instructor of a driving school, you're in your drive test and the instructor gets out and punches another driver in the face. I mean, can you finish the test? Do you pass? You better get it right. Don't make any mistakes. You don't know what might happen to you. Folks are getting crazy out here. Folks are getting crazy out here. Now I'm going to play this because it's going to illustrate again, one, what I'm saying from before, right? This isn't your grandpa. This isn't your grandmother. At this point, it's not even the boomers, right? It's the millennials. It's the Gen Xers that are openly racist. Again, this comes from the African Diaspora News Insider. So do check that out. Phil Scott.
Some white supremacists having a conversation, of course, discussing black folks. Black folks were nowhere around at all, but they all get together and have lunch and to discuss us. And I want you to hear what they're talking about. Let's roll that clip.
These good old boys sat behind me and my family at a restaurant this morning. They started out talking about how colored folks are equal to the whites now because they can farm.
Close enough.
Then they said that blacks are trying to repopulate the USA, but they should stop breeding because they have low cognitive function. Literally just started talking about how the only white privilege in the US is Gay Pride Month.
Gay people, like,
I wanted to say something, but they were all concealed carrying. They said they were, and I was scared of them.
I will take care of it. Yes. Yes. Yeah, I'm sorry. That's gave me chills. I do apologize.
We said something to the lady who works there. She seemed to be their friend. Maybe she will say something, but I doubt it.
how embarrassing for yourself and to
Right.
feel no shame.
Wait a minute. So let's get this straight. So they're saying that black people is equal to white folks now because they can farm. So they admit that we have a system that is white supremacy. They know that. You understand? And these people running around here talking about, they don't want to pay no reparations, like you taking it from them individually. It's actually the U.S. government. But they know the system isn't equal. That's why he said equal to the whites now. And they were never farming anyway. Africans were doing all the farming while you were sitting your lazy self up, laid up all day long. You didn't do any cotton, tobacco, anything in this country. And you're still not picking anything now. You get Mexicans and other Hispanic groups to do it for you now. You don't want to work in no hot sun. You run from the hot sun. I know you do. I seen you do it. Boy, and you out there, boy, look like you about to die.
This is where we're at now. So again, I got all the confidence in the world. If I'm all sitting around, we all got our guns, we can be openly racist. And then it'll be, well, I was afraid for my life. Ah, well. They were old. And the black person was yelling at him, you ain't gonna call me no N-word. You're not gonna this, you're not gonna that. But hey, there were no black people even there, right? I feel comfortable talking like that. And of course, the waitress, oh, they're friends. And that's not the first time they've had that conversation. But how many times have you heard, oh, that's just John. That's just Tom. Don't mind him. That's just Tom. But Tom sits on the jury. Tom's the judge. Tom's the prosecutor. Tom's the firefighter. Tom's the police officer. Tom's the principal. And Janet, the one that's pouring the coffee and making excuses and hears it every day and doesn't say anything, and his friends, she's the school teacher. She's the PTA mom. She's the nurse. She's the doctor. She's the lawyer. She's the DA. She's teaching it in the home. but it's a federal holiday. So let's dance and have a barbecue. That's where I'm at. So I can't get down with Juneteenth. Again, as I shared earlier, it was already being celebrated in 47 states and DC. For years. Since the 80s in regards to Texas. See, a lot of us are brand new about it, right? And again, wasn't for us. It was for those of us that were in the deep south that didn't get the word until years later. But if we're going to make a game out of it, why won't they? If you're going to have a barbecue and dance and celebrate, why won't they? You try that with the Holocaust and see what happens. The look on Phil's face right now says it all. It's perfect. let me pull Phil back up. That's perfect. Celebrate if you want. Acknowledge. Pay homage to. Reflect. The police video and the police recording came out for the brother in South Africa that was killed. Don't know if you saw that. Gentleman seemingly mistakes someone's home for another someone else's home. He takes off his shoes, enters the home. The people are terrified. You can hear him apologizing. He's saying he's sorry. The phone call to 911 makes it sound like someone's being killed. Immediately, the Hawaiian police come up on scene, then kill him. A lot to do. Again, though I don't agree with it, I'm not against folks that celebrate it, which is why I help to market and advertise to support their effort. And I think we need to get to that point. I don't know if you don't take anything else from this particular podcast. I would hope that that would be it. That if we are going to make any kind of sustained, tangible change, that's what we're going to have to do as a people. That we cannot worry about whether or not I agree with you. That even if I think differently on a particular thing, I can still support you in fundamental ways. And you always know when you're doing the wrong thing. And you know it because your enemy would tell you that you need to denounce that person. They'll tell you that. And oftentimes we go along to get along with it. And so we destroy or not support that black business or that black person or those ideals because they said you shouldn't do that. And you do it. But for them, they still find a way to support. That doesn't change for them. You ever notice that? It doesn't change for them. They will continue to support theirs. Oh, that's just Tom. Oh, that's just John. Talk about all the stuff going on in the Catholic Church. And how they will still defend, still go to the same place. Now, what I'm not saying is you turn a blind eye. If someone is hurting people, breaking the law, they're hurting the community, that's one thing. But because you think differently, I think, the tragedy is that we tend to emulate the toxic and the bad things. And then we reject the things that would actually make us stronger and more formidable as a people. And then we blame it on slavery. And we have no agency and no personal accountability. I just like what I like. I likes my Gucci. I'm going to wear my Gucci. It's Gucci, Gucci, Gucci. Got to have that name brand. My purse costs more than my car. I saw on Willie D. Guy wins $30,000 in a lottery, buys $20,000 in gold chains, and gets them stolen like within 24 hours. What a dumbass. Yeah, 30 grand, and you bought 20 grand in gold chains. What a dumbass. I can't even laugh at it. It's like I want it to be, it's like, you know what? It would be funny if it wasn't so stupid. Jackass. What a jackass. That wasn't slavery. That was a jackass. It's a dumbass. You got to recognize trauma, and you got to recognize bad behavior. You value what you value. But again, if racists teach their kids and pass it down, we also do the same. So what are we passing on down to our kids? Depreciating assets. That's what we value. Don't trust that black dude. Don't support that black business. Talk bad about your brother and sister. One of the last things I wanted to show you was one of the black banks had a little kind of snippet on ways that the wealth gap can be closed. And there's nuance here for me because there are some things that we can do, and there are some things that people are doing to you, and you can be accountable. You can exercise your agency and still find it tremendously difficult to do these things. So these are 6 ways that this black bank believes that we can close the racial wealth gap.
In the U.S. is launching the One Transaction campaign, and they're listing 6 financial decisions that can help bridge that racial wealth gap. They include buying a home, owning a profitable business, investing in the stock market, buying life insurance, improving credit, and having a will. CEO Kevin Cohey says these are the 6 building blocks of generational wealth.
Building wealth is like building anything else. It's like building a house. If one knows how to assemble a house, how to bring together a bunch of raw materials, and then to construct them in a very specific way.
Buying a home is often the biggest investment for anyone. Black homeownership has declined nearly 2.5% over the past 20 years, falling to 45%, while white home ownership has held pretty much steady at about 74%. And according...
Oh, wait. Thought we were getting better. Kamala, Clyburn, Obama. Biden, all of y'all that are supporting it, the numbers don't show that. So while you individually are doing well, as a people, we're not. It's getting worse. Now, my issue with what the gentleman, the CEO, had to say there, let me just rewind it here. Get it back to that chart. So for these 6 things, own a home. Well, you need 20% down. Typically at the minimum. When I interviewed one of the real estate people earlier this year, she was saying some things that, and I've bought a home before, I never heard of. These different deals and things that you can do to get into a home. So remember, if you got bad credit, you're going to pay a higher interest rate. Typically, if you're black, you're going to pay a higher interest rate. They may not even give you a loan. or you're only going to be able to buy in certain places, right? Redlining. But if you're working slave wages, how are you supposed to save for that down payment? People who own businesses, most black people that own businesses in this country, it's a business of one employee, them. And most times they're working harder than they are if they were working for someone else. Why? Because again, as I was telling you before, right? How do I access capital or money? Most startups, mom and dad loan the money, equity in a home, higher wages, can get loans, have family members that have money, have support. So that's tremendously hard to do. Save and investments. Well, most of us are working slave wages. We're working jobs, not careers. So there is no pension. There is no retirement. I talked to you the other day about how most of us will work until the day we drop. There's no retirement home. There's no retirement. Social Security isn't going to be enough. I'm holding the sign trying to make $15 an hour. Which again, because no one ever really does the math on these things, right? Let's say you work 40 hours a week. You're making $15 an hour. 15 times 40. $600. 600 times 2, 1,200 every paycheck. Take your month, that's 2,400. You're making 2,400 in a month. You're working 40 hours a week. And this is assuming you're making the $15 an hour. Multiply that by 0.8, because you're going to pay about 20% of that in taxes. It's about $1,600 a month, a little extra. Well, most of your rent is about $1,100. You got $500 left. You got to eat. You need toilet paper. You need soap. You need toothpaste. You need food. Even if you get food stamps. You got to get to work either on a bus or in a car. If you got a car, you got to pay insurance, you got to pay fuel, you got to pay repairs. Can't buy a new car. Well, you're repairing it more often because you got a bucket. Maybe got Obamacare. So, there's still things that you have to pay for. Some things that it doesn't cover, so you're going without. Most of those jobs don't have any benefits, don't have any retirement, don't have any sick time, aren't doing any matching. Oh, do you owe child support? Well, you can hang that up. You have student loans? Did you actually go to school? Remember, when I started my job in 2012 at Olympic College, the job I applied for was 19.5 hours per week. And the requirement was that you had a master's degree. And that job paid $19 an hour. So, well, you chose it. Yeah, I did. It's the best option at the time. Could you imagine a master's degree and you're not even making $20 an hour? Hell, I wasn't even full time when I started that job. So, own a home. With that, just need to work harder. Go to college. Get a degree. Okay, I did that. I got 3. Get a will. All right. But most people in our community can get a will, and typically what they would be willing is debt. Get life insurance. Well, we're not the healthiest bunch. Obesity, diabetes, hypertension. We're plagued by a whole bunch in the Black community. See, the last policy that I had that was a really, really good policy was $300 a month. So I think it was that might have been a $500,000 policy or $1 million policy. $300 a month. Improve your credit score. This might be the easiest one to do, I think, on this list. But even still, as technology got better, when my dad was growing up, he could write a check on Friday to keep the lights on or to buy groceries because that check wouldn't clear until the middle of next week. But now it doesn't work like that, right? They're getting it immediately. So if you have a credit card, that's your float. Oh, then everything is predatory, payday loans, overdraft fees from the bank. That first thing hits, that's the $35 late fee, and then everything else comes behind it, and they just keep hitting you. Car breaks down, you got to get to work because the decent job you got, you can't get there in a timely manner on a bus, or you can't get to daycare or to school to pick your child up in time without them calling CPS. So you've got to drive. And there is nobody else. Oh, have a family member do it. But we all don't have that. You don't know. Clients are told this all the time. You don't have anybody that you can call? No. Hell, even with everything that I had going on, I barely had someone that could take the time to take me to have back surgery. And the reason is they got to take off work. They require you to stay. The driver has to stay. So can I ask someone to take a sick day or a vacation day so I can have back surgery? That's if they even have that to give, right? They're doing their best to save that up because they're going to have an emergency and they need that. Right? Because they can't really take leave without pay. They can't afford to. And sometimes their sick days are because their kids are sick. So they're not even using it for them. When they get sick, they're still trying to go to work. Well, then your friends that don't have any kind of benefits like that, well, if they don't go to work, they're calculating every hour. I've got to work these hours. I've got to take that extra shift. I'm not going to be able to pay my rent. or every other month, I'm short. So, man, I love to take, I can't. Oh, your license is suspended? You got court? No, this is going on. See, folks, think it's just so easy. So while I like this list, I don't like how he portrayed it as a thing of, hey man, just do these 6 things and we'll go ahead and close the gap. These are the things that need to happen, but this needs to be part of reparations. You know what? How about we do this? America doesn't want to pay reparations. They don't want to atone for their sins. Then you do this. You say, you know what? It's going to be a life insurance policy. You're going to pay $1 million policy. Because see, Tulsa and everywhere else, if those places weren't destroyed, that's what those folks had, right? They had their own banks, they had their own things. So even when we got there after slavery and it was all destroyed, not just Tulsa, all the other places, or some of the places that I showed you in a previous podcast. So you pay life insurance. Because remember, you were paying insurance on the slaves if they died to the slave owner. So call it life insurance. Don't even call it reparations. Just pay us life insurance. And you pay it to the foundational Black Americans. Not immigrants that came over here. Foundational. And for the Herschel Walkers and his son, and for those of the world that don't want it, then let it go into a bank. A Black bank with Black decision makers to help with investments for individuals, families, and business. So that's fine. You don't want your life insurance policy from slavery? Goes into that bank. Economic power. Closing that racial wealth gap is important. So I do like this. I did want to show this. I think that's important. Of course, you also know how I feel about Dr. Tazsjah Johnson and the blackmail political agenda. Pull that up for those of you that may be watching for the first time. Oops. It might help if I spell his whole name out so I can show up. That'd also be good if I put him on in my favorites.
Dr. Tazsjah. Dr. T.
Sorry about that. You know what? Can you even copy and paste with a Mac? A lot to learn about this Mac. It's cool. I do like it though. I just want to get to his website. Let's see if it'll come up. Those are things that I should always have on deck. I definitely recommend subscribing to Dr. T. Hassan's YouTube channel. He is a huge advocate of Black males. And he is, I've learned quite a bit from him. And, you know, for me, one of the things that's been so powerful is, I don't know if you've ever had feelings or thoughts about certain things and you just kind of felt like you were the only one that was feeling the way that you were feeling. And when you discover someone who actually also feels that way, it's like, I can't believe there's someone else that thinks like me. It's like, is that possible? And it's just so profound, you know. It's hard to describe how powerful it is to find like-minded people that share how you're thinking that is so counter or so absent, just not even counter, just ignored, not even acknowledged. And so that to have that validation is powerful. It helps you to feel, and for me, like I'm not so alone in the world. And I just told someone the other day, I feel like I'm holding a sandwich board on the side, talking about, it's the end of the world, it's the end of the world, and no one's listening to me, you know. But Dr. T. Hassan Johnson, political agenda, the black male political agenda. You've seen me talk about this before, family court reform, right? These are the things that need to happen, not making Juneteenth a federal holiday. Again, that's the glass of water. Go ahead and make it a holiday it's already there. It's not even an appetizer. It already just comes because you walked in. You don't even have to order anything. You're getting water. Family court reform. Education. Affirmative action. Targeted homelessness programs. Targeted unemployment programs. Law enforcement. Ending qualified immunity. Huge. Jury nullification. False accusations. Here's one. There should be clear and more stringent punishment for filing false charges against black men. Emmett Till, we can go down the line. Tulsa, knowing that black men are denigrated, stereotyped, and wrongfully convicted more than and to greater degrees than others. Such accusations can have a more far-reaching and detrimental impact on black men's lives. Black men are the most exonerated group due to false accusations, according to the National Registry of Exoneration's Newkirk Center of Science and Society, University of California, Irvine. They actually state African Americans are only 13% of the American population, but a majority of innocent defendants wrongfully convicted of crimes and later exonerated. They constitute 47% of the 1,900 exonerations listed in the National Registry of Exonerations as of October of 2016. And the great majority of more than 1,800 additional innocent defendants who were framed and convicted of crimes in 15 large-scale police scandals and later cleared in group exonerations. Thus, whimsically dangerous charges with questionable, unreliable evidence or no evidence at all should be harshly dealt with to dissuade others from repeating the act against an already vulnerable population. Absolutely. Right? Just talked about Central Park Karen, right? Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Now I'm suing. See, you're not sorry. You're sorry you got caught. You're sorry. You don't even mean it. It's why they want to get rid of cancel culture, as I said before. It's just they don't want to be canceled, but it's okay. They've been canceling black men through false accusations from the gate. He looked at me. He whistled at me. He did this. He did that. I just realized I'm actually not on. I'm looking at the stream and I'm like, why is it not on the actual site? So let me change this page over. Like I said, once I have dual screens, I'll be able to work much better. I think it must be this one. There we go. Because I wanted you to see where I was reading. So let me just go back to the top really quick. There's the black male political agenda. And this is where I was reading family court reform, education, affirmative action, targeted homelessness programs, targeted unemployment programs, law enforcement. And this is where I got to, again, ending qualified immunity, jury nullification, and I just read false accusations, right? This is the statement. Or this is what we want to see.
F. False accusations.
I got to turn that off. Minimum age of criminal responsibility and law enforcement collaboration, intimate partner violence, homicide and police policy reform, abolishing the Duluth model. We're going to get into this. What I want to do is we'll have our topics, of course, with Tazsjah on Saturdays. And again, Tazsjah wasn't feeling well today, so she will hopefully be back next weekend, 9:30 p.m. But the intent will be to kind of tackle these individually and sprinkle other topics in there too. Actually, we'll probably end up just sprinkling this in and having other topics kind of go in there. Because there's so many huge things as far as current events, right? So last Saturday we had our conversation and it was like, oh, hey, are we even going to meet are we even going to do our podcast because of Juneteenth? And it was like, well, no, it might be okay. We'll still go ahead and do it. But because it's Juneteenth, let's go ahead and talk about that. So, and there's no telling. There's so much stuff that happens, locally and nationally in a week's time. Some of this stuff might end up kind of taking but you know what? It's not going to take a back seat. What we'll do is we'll just chop it up. We'll talk a little bit about whatever that current event is that we got to go in on, and then we'll make sure that we touch on this, because that's been one of the issues too, right? Is something happens, right? And either for our group or other groups, and not to say that those things aren't important and they don't need to be addressed. It's just we're one of the most powerful nations on the planet. We can walk and chew bubble gum at the same time. We can address multiple things at the same time. So we need to do that. So if there's issues at the border with immigration and kids, and that needs to be resolved, we can talk about that and we can solve that while we're doing this too. But our issues cannot take a back seat, and they cannot be usurped. We can't be trick bagged. We can't allow other organizations, other groups of people to come in and act like they are here with us. And you see that all the time, right? Oh, it's Juneteenth. Nope, this is our issue. We're just using the fact that you got a bunch of people here to advertise and advocate for our thing. Oh, it's George Floyd. Oh no, this is our opportunity. We're here with you in solidarity. Oh, but we got to talk about this. Here we go. This is what this is about. See, that's what that means when you are taking advantage of our black bodies, of our plight, of our oppression. I stand in solidarity with these black folk. Oh, but hey, here we go. It's about this. It's about that. But we're with you though. And then somehow the dollars and the impact goes to those other groups while we're still standing there, barbecuing and dancing for our freedom. I do hope that this at least allowed you to see another perspective on Juneteenth. We're not a monolith. We do think differently. I like to believe that I have tangible agendas on things that need to change in this country. My big focus is on black men. And I can chew bubble gum and walk at the same time. So I can advocate for homeless people, for those who are homeless. I can feed those who are experiencing food insecurities. I can train and provide skills to those that need them. I can give sound advice or mentorship to those that are willing to hear it. But what I haven't done has been openly and open and direct advocate for black men. And it is my responsibility, as is all black men. You are powerful. Take your power. I am Marwan Cameron. This is the Conduit. I'm so glad that you joined me. I know I go long, 2 hours, 41 minutes. I don't have Tazsjah, so we didn't make it to 4 hours. Who knows how long this would have been if she would have been here tonight. But one thing I want to say, though, is what has been awesome is I've been going 2 hours, 41 minutes, and we have not had any issues with technology as far as losing the connection. It hasn't dropped one time. So I think this really was the solution. So I'm happy for it. So as soon as I get the dual monitor going, and then I don't have to worry about trying to use this second camera to load things up, which the audio wasn't coming through anyway. Actually, I think I just need to route it through the roadcast, but I think that's it. So, and then I've got a thing for when they want to try to stop me and reset my router. You know what? Before I did a podcast, I cannot remember a time when my router just randomly reset. And now And let me tell you, my router does not reset if I'm not podcasting. Now, what do you think about that? And I'm an electronic person. I got smart lights and echoes and all kinds of stuff. My router does not reset. Echo. Stop. It does not reset unless I am doing a podcast. I just don't think that's a coincidence. And like I said, I owe you guys the audio of me talking to the Comcast rep. I think she had been there for 15 years, who she was saying she was thinking that someone was cutting me off, which is kind of scary when you think about it, right? That's a scary thought. I owe you that audio. I've got to play that. Someone remind me of that, and I'll make sure I play that because that's crazy. And again, she told me to record, so that's how I ended up with the recording, because we were trying to test to see if she did a whole bunch of stuff to the system, and we reset it, the router, and did all kinds of different things, and then it was like, okay, test it. I want you to record. So, it wasn't me, recording her without her permission. She actually wanted me to record her. But it's like, okay, I've never been told that. And this wasn't hyperbole. She wasn't joking. She was dead serious. And I'm like, okay. Do I do the podcast, or do I just keep it real light and fluffy? It definitely was something that I had to think about, right? And it's like, you know what? No, I think I have to do it. I got to do it. I have to have the conversation. Information needs to get out there. Different streams of consciousness have to get out into spaces where people can have these conversations, and people need to have the ability to understand that, one, they're not alone in their viewpoints. Two, that they're able to learn and bring in new information and modify their viewpoints. And then three, take action on those viewpoints, right? I think those three things are critically important. And so, that and a myriad of other reasons, I felt like, this is something that I have to do. Especially, things are opening back up, but they're not quite the same yet. And so the exposure to folks that you can touch and teach and talk with and advise and mentor, the numbers just aren't there until things really kind of get going again. And so this is the best way to do it. Plus, it allows you to, reach some other people. So more effectively, you can spread that net and make some change that way. So again, I got to tell you, I definitely appreciate you. Please subscribe, like, and share. Tell your friends about it. Have them listen in. We will continue to, bring you this content and more information. We're looking at, oh man, so many cool things that we're looking to do in the for the rest of the year and into the new year. In my first interview, I interviewed Reverend Laverne Hall, who kind of helped take care of us when we were kids, one of my dad's friends. And so she has asked me to moderate. They're going to award Sojourner Truth an award in postulants. I think that is the term. And so these really powerful women are going to come on kind of in a Zoom format and award Sojourner Truth. And she's asked for my podcast to be the one to do this. So this is going to be women from all across the country. So I'm super honored by that. That's like, oh man, I can't wait. So that'll be sometime in, I think it's November, but as it gets closer, I'll start reminding you. But I think it's around Sojourner Truth's birthday. So that's a big deal and a big honor to do that. Um, so I'm looking forward to doing more things like that and uplifting folks. And we'll get back to having more interviews and having conversations with people for sure. But right now we'll continue our two by two studies with the Rev, and then our show with Tazsjah on Saturdays, and then hopefully we'll have our cool experiences like with Mr. Roosevelt Smith and the Africana exhibit and things of that nature, and kind of push those things out. And then of course, sharing with you, what resources are out there, so the rental assistance, the vaccine, whatever it may be that's out there that may be able to help you. We want to be able to bring that to you. Both, stuff that's here in the county or the state, and also nationally. If we hear about it, we want to send it out. So soon you'll hear me talk about, if there's like uh, grant information that someone might be able to take advantage of, or some kind of a business opportunity or things like that, I'll start to share that stuff out too. So I really want it to be kind of a hub for you to learn, but also to get resources, right? You want to sharpen your mind and get information, but you also want to get some um, uh, well, I mean, even with that, I'm always going to be solution oriented. So I want to give you things that you can actually do, some kind of action item, but I also want to give you some resources that you can take advantage of also. So lots of really cool ideas of what to do for the podcast. Definitely, we are looking at hiring some people here soon. So our thumbnails will improve, and keywords, and edited videos. Everything won't be live. Doing it live for me just makes it easier, trying to run two companies and all the things that comes with that. It's just easier for me to do that. So I know I've got to step up my game on so many different things. And so it was like, okay, look, you have been dealing with this computer for the longest time, and it's not getting better, and it seems like it's getting worse. Like right now, it's still connected, but I'm backstage on the other one, so I can see myself, and it's like the other image is freezing. So I think it could be the video card, because that computer is not even 6 months old, right? So I'm thinking something's wrong with the computer. I bought, like a mid-range gaming computer, so I wanted to make sure that I had everything that I needed to effectively do this. And so I don't know what happened to that thing. I've got one of the most expensive routers, and it's like, okay, wait a minute. I'm doing everything. So what is the issue? I'm watching all these YouTubers, and trying to learn from them, and, engage with content with others. And it's like, they don't seem to have any of these problems. I mean, they talk about shadow banning, but for the most part, that's the only thing they have to deal with. So I'm like, man, what am I doing wrong? So, and it's like, I'm not the only one that's talking about this content. I mean, even still, I don't curse. I don't really worry about words that I say, because we're not at a point where we're being monetized at all anyway. So, it's like, well, I'm just going to say what I need to say. And I'll deal with that once we get to a point where maybe we could get monetized. So I guess there's all these things you got to do. You got to have so many subscribers, and you got to have so many videos and so many hours watched, and you got to do all these things. So, we're still working toward that. So, it is what it is. And you know what? I think that's actually good, because, this is an undertaking. So yes, it would be great for this to be revenue generating, so it can support the nonprofit. But at the same time, um, I almost feel like if I had started um, where I had a governor on what I said and how I said it, trying to ensure that I didn't say anything that could get you demonetized. But if I did that, the podcast would probably be a lot different, right? And then I would be doing too much, um, tiptoeing and tap dancing around what I really want to say. or what really needs to be said. And even now I'm still I can be somewhat measured in what I say. There's times that I do get upset, but for the most part, I feel like I'm pretty free to say what I want to say. But I know that from listening and reading some things that you're not going to get monetized if you're doing that stuff. So it's a concern. But so I think ultimately it was probably a better thing for me to start this way, so that it would be more just a more pure thought and not a a restricted thought that's like, I kind of get what you're saying, but you're not quite saying it. Just go on and say it. So I think that's probably a better way for me to have done it. So that's good. But yeah, we are trying to get to the point where it is monetized. So we do appreciate your help with that. And if you notice too, like when I say horrible, it's definitely horrible. Like there is no, hey guys, click the link in the bottom and subscribe to our Patreon and our Cash App and this and that. It's like, I don't really say any of that. When I was using OBS and I had the little scroller on there, like I've got all that stuff. But it's just not something that's being pushed, right? It's like you're just kind of coming on and doing your thing. And I know that that's a big part of it. ABCs, always be closing. You got to ask for the sale. So I get that's important. And if you don't do it, it definitely isn't going to happen, right? And so we will get to that point. But that's the whole thing is really we're going to hire some people and get them in here. Hey, it's that thing like computer literacy, right? The older you get, so we're gonna get some younger blood in here that knows how to do this social media stuff, and can help me to make this thing more polished show. And then we're also gonna do several shows. So at some point, you'll probably see us have multiple channels. So we'll probably have like a resource channel. We'll have a channel like this where we're talking about these issues. As you know, I do play video games. So we'll have like a gaming channel. Me and my team, we love Marvel and DC. So we'll probably talk about movies and things like that. So we want to do some fun stuff too. For me, life is hard. We walk through this life and we got to deal with the issues, and everyone has issues to deal with. And, being a Black male doesn't make you some kind of special thing that you're the only one that goes through stuff. We all go through stuff, and it's hard, right? Life is not easy. And so for me, my favorite thing, the thing that hurt me the most during COVID was the movie theater shutting down. So that was just a way for me to escape. I'll go in the middle of the day and go and catch a movie, and it's great. 2 hours, I can just, watch it. And I like, I like horrible movies. So I'll go in like I, Frankenstein, if you guys have ever seen that. Yeah, I like some horrible stuff. My friend Rod was out here and he was talking about how he used to watch all these old Kung Fu flicks. And so back when movies were on DVD, I once had bought a set. It had 10 Kung Fu movies on one DVD. And the cover had a like a ninja or something like surfing a bullet with a sword in his hand. It was just really horrible, terrible stuff, right? But it's stuff that I like, so it is what it is. But I like a lot of martial arts stuff. I'll read the subtitles, so I'm into that stuff, and so yeah, we'll talk about things like that. So we want to get everything situated and get the format going before we start some of the channels and do it. But if you saw earlier, I tried to do a Falcon and Winter Soldier, kind of reaction video or talking about it after. And we did one. And then, Rob and Stephanie had the volume too loud. So then that got, taken off the site. And then we're pretty busy on Friday night. So it was like, man, we can't consistently do it. It's hard enough for me to do it, trying to get them to get on and do it too. It's just crazy. So, but we'll get to that point. I think it'll be, we'll have a lot of fun with it once we kind of get things worked out. But the main thing is with everything, it's just get in there and just start. I think that really is the best advice, no matter what it looks like, get it. The great thing is it builds the library. And at any time, someone may gain benefit from being able to go back and listen to some of the videos. And just like with many things, you never know when you hear something. When you hear it, it may be the time that you need to hear it. So I think that is helpful. So that's been encouraging for us to go ahead and get this thing going. And I do appreciate, all the folks that made G2 go and their support of me doing this. Ernest, doing his deliveries on Thursday night and bringing me one of the meals that we provide to the folks that need a hot meal. So it was shepherd's pie, which is one of my favorite things that Stephanie makes this week, and then her salad, which was great. So dinner was great. So yeah, I appreciate that. But it does take, a bunch of people to make those things happen. So, they get disappointed. Like today we were supposed to play Destiny 2 and do a raid, which Vaulted Glass is back. And I didn't play D1. And so this is, now that they brought it back, and Robin Monkey, that's all they talk about is Destiny 2 is the game. And then when Vaulted Glass came back, they would talk about D1 all the time. And it was just a big deal. So, hey, how you doing? You're a very genuine, eloquent speaker. You deserve to have so many more people following you than podcasters you have. Best wishes. Hey, I appreciate it. One day it'll get there. But like I said, I never know when someone who needs to hear it will need to hear it. And it just is what it is. But yeah, I won't be deterred. But I think it's good for, even the folks that came on. Like, I don't know if you saw the podcast yesterday with Mr. Roosevelt Smith, but I think it was powerful for him to not only talk about his exhibit, but talk about himself, because he's always talking about his exhibit, but a place to showcase himself, and then to have his children on, I thought was powerful. So, and that did get a few views, but even if it didn't, just the fact that his daughters could come on and speak, his daughter and his niece could come on and speak so highly of him. And even his wife was like, you know what, I love him, and then she didn't want to talk anymore. But, everybody needs that. Everybody needs that. So, and as I said before, I can never remember his name at Kitsap Strong, but what he was saying was it's not about the thousands or the tens of thousands of people. It's the quality of the interaction and the help that you give to, the individual. So we really have adopted that thought on there. So I'm going to give you the same as if there were 10,000 people watching as if there was one or two people watching. I think that's important. So yeah, no, I appreciate it. But yeah, I should go. Just know that that's coming. Do have a really big announcement. I don't have it ready for you because I'm using the new thing and I don't have the dual screen. But the Office of Public Instruction, Superintendent Public, OSPI, I can't remember the acronym for it, but we are working with the school district. And thank you. We are working with the school district, and we are going to be serving 200 meals a day to kids that don't have, that qualify for free lunch during the summertime. So we're going to start that here on the 28th of June. So not this Monday, but next Monday it'll start. You will see me post the menu up. We're going to be the first agency in the state of Washington to do deliveries. So even if you've been going to a different site, if you would like to get one of our meals, we will deliver them to you in Kitsap County. So I'll put that out. Our official letter went out to the mail to the Kitsap Sun because that was like one of the last things that we needed to do was to alert the public or the local newspaper. You'll see that. Like I said, you'll see the menu. You'll have the contact number. G2 will actually be a site. If you want to drive down and pick up your meal, you can do that, but we will be delivering meals. And so the way we looked at it was this. I mean, one, we do transportation and we also do food, but if a kid is home and a parent is home during the summer, and I grew up this way, I couldn't wait. If I missed that bus and I didn't get that morning breakfast, I was hungry. And the morning breakfast for me was good. They would have that waffle with the little squares in it. It was like a rectangle, and they're probably not very tasty now, but they were good back then. But if I missed breakfast, I was definitely hungry for lunch, and I wasn't someone that missed lunch when I was free or reduced lunch, right? But when you think about someone who is qualifying for free or reduced lunch and their kid is home for the summer, even during COVID, they're eating more, right? I mean, Layla is a beast, but they're eating more. And if you have multiple kids, they're eating more. So your food stamps were already only going as far as they were going anyway. Now you've got this kid in the house every day. But now add on to it, it's summertime, right? And so while there is free food, you've got to get there. Well, our low income families may not have a car. So, okay, the food is there, but I've got to now get on a bus and go and do that. Am I going to work? Maybe. If I'm not going to work, I still have to get there. Now I spent a good portion of the day maybe walking or getting on a bus or doing whatever. So what we're trying to do is, time is one of those things that are so valuable, in any way that we can get those things back, so that parents can use that. They can interact with their kids. They can apply for a job. They can do self-improvement. They can rest. They actually do need a break. They do need to rest. If we can do any of those things to help out, I think that's going to be tremendously helpful. So we're excited to be doing that. We're going to be doing 200 meals a day. The way we're going to set it up is on Monday, kids or parents can either pick up or have delivered lunch and snack for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And then on Thursday, we'll do it again. And then they can either come or have their meal delivered for Thursday and Friday. And so with that, we're hoping that we're going to, make that ease on parents in regards to they don't have to come down and get on a bus or find a ride or use their own gas to come down and get a meal for their kids. By us being able to provide it, they don't have to come down every day. It's already sitting in there. There's good stuff in there. We've got paninis and white lasagna. And I mean, there's some good things on there. So when I show you the menu, it's like, oh yeah, I would definitely eat that stuff. So, and we also were thinking about trying to expose some children, expose children to good food, but to some, that tastes good. That's also good for you. That's also different. So there's always kind of this thought of, well, you're a Black person, so it should be culturally relevant. Maybe you should, serve them some kind of soul food or food that they eat. And it's like, well, but you get that food all the time. How about you do actually try some other stuff that's good that you'll probably like stromboli, which is good, right? And I never had stromboli until like a couple years ago because the cook was making it. And it's like, oh man, that's bomb. And expand their palates, right? So you can teach doing anything. And so that's why we decided to do it that way. And so, and I don't know what kid doesn't like cheese. I mean, obviously there are some, they might have allergies, but for the most part, kids love cheese. Lasagna is the bomb. They're going to tear it up. So we wanted to make some really good things. And then we actually sent out a letter to the Office of Public Instruction because to us, it didn't make sense. It's like you got to give them a carton of milk with every meal. And it's like, all right, so if you're getting milk, a carton of milk, 10 cartons a week, how about we just give them a gallon of milk, right? And then that way, and even as a kid, I'm lactose now, but even as a kid, I didn't always drink my milk, right? White milk with breakfast, white milk with lunch. So now, a parent can, hey, you want to have cereal? You can have cereal. Mama or dad's going to make mac and cheese. We can use the milk for that. So, it goes to stretch it, right? And we think that that's going to be helpful. Echo, destruct, stop, Echo. Echo is crazy. So that's our plan. We're super excited about it. We're definitely like, woo, this is about to be a lot of work. So we're talking about making 1,000 meals a week right off the bat. And then we don't know how fire, deliveries might catch on. So we're going to scale it up. And but we think it's important. We got to take care of our kids, and we have to support the parents too. I think that's really, that gets lost. Sometimes we can be really empathetic and sympathetic to the kids. And while the parents, however we think, you put yourself in your situation, you had these kids that you couldn't take care of, if that's the situation, or you fell on hard times, or whatever the case may be, right? You were in a stable situation and you weren't. However it was, parents are struggling and they need help. And so we always, people say it takes a village. Then if it takes a village, then we need to be a village. And so that is our intent, is to, again, hit our vision of self-sufficiency for all residents, and to help them with that. And self-sufficiency doesn't mean that you do it on your own. It does mean that you reach out and you use your resources, right? Not codependence, interdependence, not independent. So that's really what it is. So I wonder if we should change our vision, not self-sufficiency, which I mean, it does, that is what it means, but our mission should be, interdependence for all residents, but that's kind of our thought on it. So again, definitely excited, proud of my team taking on all this stuff. It's a lot of work. I'm not the cook because no one will eat it, but I will help prepare it per the instructions and deliver it. But man, I appreciate you guys. Thank you for spending some time with me. And I will see you next time. I'm Marwan Cameron, and this is The Conduit.